So Apple sent me one of their new Magic keyboards for iPad, or specifically for iPad Pro. And you might be thinking, what makes a keyboard magic? Will a rabbit come out of it when I open it up? Well, not quite, although quite a bit of money will come out of your wallet if you choose to buy one. Apple's asking a really premium price for the Magic Keyboard. In Australia, it'll run you $499 for the 11-inch version, which I've got here, or $589 for the 12.9-inch version. And Apple already does a Smart Keyboard Folio, which ostensibly from the outside you might think, hey, this is the Smart Keyboard Folio. It certainly looks very similar, let's face it. But there are some big key differences that you really only hit when you open it up. And here it is side on, and you can very clearly see some of the key features that it has. Most notably, distinct from a lot of other keyboard cases, the iPad itself floats above the actual keyboard. So you get a little bit of a gap space in here. Now, Apple says that it's got 130 degrees of movement, but they're not exactly wrong and they're not exactly right in that, because they're counting that 130 degrees of adjustable movement as being everything from there, where it's shut, all the way up to there, where it's fully open. The actual adjustable angle, it's maybe about 30 degrees. You can basically have it kind of there. That's probably too angular in, actually. You might not even be able to see that properly, but that's probably too angular in to actually work at. Most people might have it kind of flat, laptop style like that, or probably just fully leant back. Little tricky to do with one hand, but you get the idea. Now, the other big key feature that you get with that you can just see down here is this USB-C port. And you might be tempted to think, hey, that means that I've got two USB-C ports because there's still one around the other side. Not exactly. You've really got 1.5, because this USB-C port only does power. You can't plug other peripherals, so you couldn't plug a mouse in there or an external storage drive. It's just for charging the iPad. I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity. The other big thing with this particular case is that it's really quite heavy. Now, Apple doesn't actually specify weights or indeed a great deal about this particular keyboard on its website. So I weighed it myself and it comes in at about 595 grams. And that might not sound like much, but bear in mind, the 11-inch iPad that it's actually sitting on only weighs about 473 grams, slightly less even if you've got the Wi-Fi only option. So you are more than doubling its weight. And comparably speaking, the existing Smart Keyboard Folio is only a shade above 300 grams. So there's quite a bit of bulk you're adding to this, and you're basically turning it into the weight of an ultra-portable laptop, which is sort of the point. Apple really does want to pitch the iPad Pro as a laptop replacement, and this is part of the trip towards that. So what features do I really like? Well, look, the keyboard really is very nice. Now, Apple uses the phrase Magic Keyboard for any keyboard with a scissor switch mechanism. For years and years and years now, if you bought a MacBook or a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air, it had a very flat keyboard with butterfly style switches underneath. And sorry, Apple, they really weren't very good at all. This has larger scissor style switches and they're really comfortable. That weight, which is a bit of an issue if you're going to be lugging it around, does give it a bit more robustness when it's in your lap, for example. It's quite good. It's a little bit less noticeable if you are going to be using it on a desk because, of course, if you just had the regular Smart Keyboard Folio, you'd get the weight of the desk underneath it, giving you that bounce back anyway. But this is a nice keyboard. It works pretty well. The other thing, of course, you get this trackpad. Now, the trackpad enables a whole bunch of other gestures, and they've been in there for a little bit longer, in fact, than you've been able to buy this keyboard case. They're all just part of iPadOS 13.4 specifically. It does enable you to work in ways that you might not otherwise think of doing with an iPad, but it's still an iPad. You've still got that slightly more limited multitasking. You've still got an interface that doesn't really think about having a pointer device to speak of. It works, it functions. I can see some great utility for people with lesser mobility where possibly moving a trackpad might be easier than reaching across towards it, for example. But it's also a feature that you can get with any Bluetooth mouse. You connect a Bluetooth mouse to this thing, it will work exactly the same way. The biggest problem that this has, however, is that asking price. This is a luxury buy. I mean, it's a really nicely made keyboard. I've got no real problems with its technical specifications or with the response of it. It does what it needs to in terms of being a good quality keyboard. That floating angle is sort of nice, although it can be a little bit problematic because that top row of keys can get a little bit obscured at some of those angles. But it otherwise works okay. But at $499 Australian for the 11-inch version or $589 for the 12.9-inch version, that's a lot of money to ask. I mean, that 12.9-inch Magic Keyboard is more expensive than the entry-level iPad. And that just seems kind of crazy to me. If someone else is paying, then great. It's a great, lovely little luxury device. If you're paying out of your own wallet, though, I'd think long and hard about how much extra utility, how much extra productivity you're going to get out of it, because even the existing, already kind of exy Smart Keyboard Folio is significantly cheaper than this. So that's my thoughts. What do you think? Are you keen on the Magic Keyboard? Do you think there's something I've missed or something else you want to know? Let me know in your comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.